Hi everybody. So now that you've got your roster set up and the levels assigned to the students, I wanted to do two things. One, I wanted to show you different ways you can use Raz Plus as the instructor. And then the second thing we're going to do is we're going to hop in as a student and kind of look at the student experience. So two ways that people typically use Raz Plus. One, as kind of a free read space. So since you've given, you've assigned levels to the students, when they log into Raz Plus, they're going to be able to look at books at their level. And kids love to choose books. Kids love to kind of make those own decisions for themselves. So they enjoy that level of freedom. But you also know at the same time, though, that they're reading books at their level. All right. That's kind of the surface level usage of Raz Plus. Now, I'm in the main screen, the main teacher screen. When I hover over resources, you can see right out the gate that there's a lot of different resources available for you as a teacher. You can see that there's benchmarking, there are readers theater, there's flashcards. If you want a specific focus on books in Spanish, there's just a lot of resources here for you to kind of develop. Now, you'll notice though, as I kind of hover over some of these different categories, you'll see that there's a little kind of orange Saturn. And what that means is that anything in this books categories, I can actually assign to students. So instead of them having this free read space, I'm able to specifically say, all right, I really want them to, work on some nonfiction. Or I want them to work on, high frequency words, right? Those are great. So it's like, instead of them having the free space, you have the ability to assign them. And you can see that there's a lot of little Saturn icons as we kind of click through here. So I'm going to start at leveled books. All right. So I'm doing this with the purpose of trying to assign something to students. So you get to select the reading levels. So right now I'm seeing all of the reading levels. Okay, I want to see just level H. And I'm going to work on non-fiction informational texts with my students. So now what I've done is I've kind of filtered it down. So now I'm looking at only level H and only non-fiction books. So what's cool is right from here, I can actually start assigning. So if I hover over blue whales, I get a little I will eventually get, hold on, there it is. I will eventually get this little pop-up screen. And from here, I can go ahead and assign it. So let me show you that. So I hovered over it. I click on assign. It'll let me first select activity. So I want the students just to read it, not to listen to it. And I don't want a constructed response, but I could add that. And then I'm going to go ahead and add it to a student. So cool. Boom. Assignment's been created. Now, let's say you want to look a little bit deeper into the book. Instead of just assigning a book, I want to see what words are in it. I want to see what skills. I want a kind of a summary. When you click on the book, you're going to get all that information. So you can see right here, and I would highly encourage you to kind of look through this. There's a lot of different resources for these books. Let me actually look at another book. Let's go back to level H, but this time I'm actually going to select fiction books because if you look at, like, let's say Butterfly Cafe, you'll notice that there's going to be a lot of kind of teacher guides for how to use this book to work on different reading skills. So that first one I showed you was nonfiction. Now, if you notice here, now I've got different reading strategies, phonics, grammar, mechanics. Depending on the book, there's going to be a variety of resources within that book. So again, it's nice to kind of dive into these books. One thing I haven't mentioned is this add to folders option here. You can assign the individual book, or if you want to, you can go ahead and create a folder of books that you can assign to a student. So instead of just giving one blue whale book to a student, which is great, whatever, This is going to go ahead and adding it to a folder and then assigning that folder to a student. You're going to give them, a group of books. So if you're using this as a center, students would then, instead of having one book, they're going to have a selection to choose from. So let's actually hop into the student side of this so that you can see what the students are seeing. All right, let's look at how the kids interact with Raz Plus. So I'm at the Raz Plus login screen for the students. Now, if you're a veteran, you've noticed that this has changed a little bit. So if you're new, all that you're going to type in is the teacher username. So let me hop back to my account. You can see that it's the name that's underneath it. And yes, you can go into it just by hovering over it. You can go into it and change it. So I've changed mine to Mr. Boyk. All right. The students then see the roster here. I'm going to go ahead and click on eBoyk. And it's going to ask for the password. So this is the traditional, I would call it, the usual screen that students see. So this is the primary setting. Like I said, if the students are using this as free reading, the reading room option is right here. If you've given them assignments, their assignments will show up right here under the My Assignments. So you can see that I've given this student the giant mammals, the butterfly cafe, and this book called The Parking Ticket. So that's how students access the reading room, which is the generic wide open. It's at their level, but it's their choice. And then the assignments right here are specific to what you've sent them. Now, actually, let me hop in though, because that's the primary view. Let me hop into MBoyk. He has the intermediate view. So you can see this looks a little bit different, right? This doesn't look as childish anymore. To get to the assignments though, this child has not been given any assignments, but to get to the assignments, they would appear down here below this box.